Right. You know, when all these strikes kicked off in summer of 2022, after we had that massive spike in inflation, I had great sympathy with the public sector. They've been underpaid for literally a decade, and their wages had fallen behind inflation every year, year in, year out, in significant part, in my view, because of unbridled imported cheap labour. But you know, we went through a period of renegotiations, and actually a lot of the private unions settled their disputes very quickly at 7–8% levels of increase. And the private sector was settling their own disputes right across the economy at around 7 or 8%, which was sub the inflation hit, but high enough to keep the wolf from the door. It was the public sector strikes that were difficult to bring into line. But the problem I've got with the way the Labour Party's behaved in terms of settling the junior doctor strike and now ASLEF is that it has all the hallmarks of giving in. And if you encourage someone, if someone gets the perception that actually when they press you, they will win, they will be encouraged to do it again. And it's the same approach the Labour Party has used with illegal migration. It's going to fast-track the asylum applications, effectively, in my view, settling all those people in the UK, sending a signal to people smugglers and would-be illegal migrants. Actually, if you make it onto British soils, you will be safe. And they've done the same with knives, where they've given an amnesty on knives and said, hand in your knife, we'll get 10 quid. And, you know, all this signalling is a signalling in the wrong direction.
They're almost like this government is striking me as sort of really bad parents.
It's really bad parenting.
It's really bad parenting,
That's
isn't it?
exactly what it is.
It's like threatening things but not carrying it out, and dishing out justice on the child that's behaving themselves. You might say some of the people who've been caught up in these riot nonsense, and then not coming
really
down hard on...
This is not an especially generous deal in terms of the train drivers. We're talking about 15% over 3 years. It's a 3-year deal, backdated 2 years with the following year to come. 15% over 3 years, when inflation for that period has been well above that, by the way, I don't think is... We're not talking astronomical amounts here. We're talking still about a real terms pay cut for those 3 years.
We've got the border force.
I don't think that... I mean, I know there's been a lot of stuff in the right-wing press about Labour giving in to the unions. This is not actually a particularly generous deal.
We all know how expensive life is at the moment, right? You go and fill your supermarket trolley, it is eye-watering.
Yeah, we're all suffering.
It's extraordinary how expensive basic necessities are.
Not all of us are suffering. There's quite a few people at the top.
There are degrees of suffering, you're right, but everybody's feeling it. And so I do have sympathy with the train drivers who say, my income has not kept up with the
I've got huge
cost of living.
sympathy.
We all have huge sympathy. I couldn't agree more. But like you say, what is the messaging that it gives? Because we've got Border Force are now threatening to strike. That's Keir Starmer's secret weapon. That's the only ace card he's got.
Well, illegal migration might reduce if Border Force go on strike.
Controversial. But you're, I mean, look, people see city bonuses go, you know, throughout the pandemic and the cost of living crisis, city bonuses surged and directors' pay went up and our corporations were recording record profits and the banks have made huge unexpected excess profits out of the interest rate rises and the energy companies...
So why isn't the Labour Party tackling that? Can we talk about that? Well, 700 billion pounds of cash created in order to save the banks, and 5% per annum being paid on it, which wasn't paid until interest rates went up, giving the banks windfall profits of 35 billion a year. Why isn't the Labour Party taking that money back? Why is it allowing the banks to continue with it?
It was always the left that would go after the big beasts at the head of the snake, and it's like this Labour Party are just so in bed with the corporate entities.
Because the Labour Party these days has completely lost, I think, its intellectual self-confidence on some of that stuff.